All right, fifth graders, we are back for another read aloud of Save Me a Seat. Remember, we left off with Joe having a bit of an explosion at his family meeting and telling his dad that he doesn't think he likes him. All right, chapter 27, Ravi. Harima storms into my room waving a piece of paper. Wake up, Ravi, and explain this to me right now, she says, pulling the sheets off my face. What is it? I ask, rubbing my eyes. What's wrong? Her hands are shaking as she pushes the wrinkled up paper in my nose. I found this in your school bag. What is it? I ask, sitting up and reaching for my glasses. Look at me, Ravi, she says, grabbing my chin and pulling my face towards hers. Tell me what is going on. What have I done? I ask, trying to see what's written on the paper. Amma comes in, takes the paper, and sits beside me on the bed. It's some kind of drawing, she says, smoothing the paper on my knee, or on her knee. I push up my glasses, rub my nose, and look at the paper. It's a cartoon of a bunch of people wearing the same t-shirt. Did you draw this? Amma asks. No, I tell her. I've never seen it before in my life. Harima snatches the paper from me and studies it. Who is this boy? She asks suspiciously. Is that supposed to be you? Has someone been calling you names? She's pointing to a boy wearing shoes that look like giant potatoes. I know who it's supposed to be. This isn't me. It's a boy who sits behind me in class. He goes for special help. I call him Bigfoot. But his real name is Joe Sylvester, I say. Whoever drew this cartoon probably meant to give it to him and accidentally put it in my bag instead. I hope this will satisfy my grandmother and put an end to all this drama. But instead, she starts up again. Why do you and Mr. Big Feet sit together? She demands. Are you friends? Amma asks. We don't sit together. I sit behind him. The seating is alphabetical, I explain. Both of our last names start with S, and mine comes before his. And no, Amma, we're not friends. My mother knows me too well. What's going on, Raja? She asks softly. You have to tell me. I want to tell her everything. How Dylan Samreen called me curryhead and how I ran away and hid in the bathroom. How I have not made a single friend at school and have been ridiculed and laughed at every single day of school. I want to tell her that I have been tricked into tasting beef, too, but I can't. What's wrong? Amma asks, squeezing my shoulder. Ow! I cry. Amma gently pulls open the top of my pajama shirt and gasps. What's happened? She asks, gently touching the bruise with her fingertips. Nothing, Amma. I lie. I just bumped myself. Karima turns on her heel and leaves the room, only to return a minute later wearing her sweater and a shawl. She also has a scarf, a red dupatta, covering her head. Where are you going so early this morning? Amma asks. Karima ignores her. Get up, Ravi, she says. Why? I ask. I'm coming to school with you. I want to see for myself what's going on at this so-called Albert Einstein Elementary School. Nothing is going on, Karima, I say, and you cannot come with me to school. When did you start answering back to your elders? She says, her eyes flashing. It's all this American influence. Are you ashamed of your Karima now? Embarrassed of her sari and her bindi? I'm sure that's not how he feels, Amma says. What do you know about Roshni? Karima says. Tell her, Ravi. It's true, isn't it? You wished your silly old Karima had stayed behind in Bangalore, where she belongs, don't you? There's no place for me in your new American life, full of insulting cartoons and mysterious bruises. No, Karima, I'm glad you're here. But she ignores me and goes on. I'll tell your Paripa to bring in the suitcases from the garage. We'll buy a ticket and we'll fly back to Bangalore today. Amma sighs. Excuse me. Amma sighs. Don't be silly, Minama. Ravi just told you he doesn't want you to leave. Karima narrows her eyes at Amma. You've poisoned his mind, Roshni. That's what it is. We both know you don't want me here any more than he does. Stop it, I shout. The reason you can't come to school with me is because I'm not going to school, Karima. Are you feeling sick again, Raja? My mother asks, quickly putting her hand on my forehead to check for a fever. Let me feel your pulse, says Parima, putting her finger on my wrist. All of a sudden, her voice is quivering with concern. I'm not sick, I say, pushing their hands away. I'm finished with Albert Einstein Elementary School forever. I quit. Chapter 28. Joe. Joey, my mom is knocking on the door. Go away, I say, pulling the pillow over my head. But of course, she ignores me. Why does she even bother to knock if she's just going to come in anyways? You didn't eat your breakfast, so I made you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, she says. She sets the plate on my nightstand along with a glass of milk. I'm not hungry, I say from under the pillow. She doesn't say anything, but I can tell she's still standing there. I hear her sniffle, so I pull the pillow tighter around my head. I've had enough crying for one day. I have to go to work, my mother tells me. Your dad's downstairs if you need anything. I'll be back later. After she leaves, I come out from under my pillow. I look at the sandwich, but I'm really not hungry. All I want to do is go back to sleep, so I won't have to think about anything. Mia is staring at my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whining. I pull one of the crusts off and toss it to her. She catches it midair and gulps it down without even chewing. I would give her the rest, but I'm not really sure if dogs are supposed to eat peanut butter and jelly. I can't fall asleep. So I get up and I play a couple of games of Brick Breaker on my computer, and then I finish reading the last few chapters of Bud Not Buddy. If the other books this Christopher Paul Curtis guy has written are as good as this one, I'm going to go back and read them all. My appetite must be coming back because I drink my milk and eat the rest of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And when I'm done, I'm still hungry. Thursday's macaroni and cheese day at Einstein. That's the only part of school I'm sorry to miss today. A little mac and cheese would really hit the spot right now. My mom usually keeps a couple of boxes of the instant kind in the pantry. But if I go downstairs, I might have to hear round 2 of my dad's stand on your own 2 feet lecture. Instead, I decide to do a page of math problems so I won't fall behind. Right when I think I'm in good shape, I suddenly remember the personal collection assignment Mrs. Beam gave us. It's due tomorrow. Crud. Mrs. Beam had reminded us about it yesterday, and this time I'd managed to write it down, which is lucky because it turns out that it's a personal collection she wants. Or it's not a personal collection she wants. It's a personal reflection. We're supposed to pick some object that represents who we think we are and then write something on an index card about why we chose that object. This is exactly the kind of touchy-feely stuff I can't stand. What am I supposed to do? Bring in a pair of my earplugs and write, I have APD on the card. I hear a sound out in the hall, and when I turn around, I see a white envelope slide under my door. It has my name written on the front in capital letters. Joe. I'm not sure I even want to open it, but my curiosity wins out. Dear Joe, I'm not the best with words, but that doesn't mean I don't know how to say I'm sorry when I'm wrong. You said that boy Dylan never lets you forget who you are, but it's not his job to remind you. It's mine. You are smart and funny and the best son a father could have. There is more to you than meets the eye, Joe. And don't ever forget that. Love, Dad. P.S. Interleague Philly Sox series this weekend. Want to watch it with me? I read it 3 times. It's the first letter my father's ever written me, and it takes a while for the words to sink in. Mr. Barnes had a bunch of quotes on the wall in his room. One of them was, writing can change the world. I think I finally understand what it means. I also know what I'm going to bring to school the next day for Mrs. Beam's assignment. And that's the end of our read aloud for today. So, seems like Joe is starting to calm down, and it seems like his dad is actually trying to make amends. Ravi, on the other hand, has decided he's just quitting school. Stay tuned to see what happens next, and make sure you do the response to reflect on what we just read.